Hey guys, another edition of the Coach's Corner Show presented by PES. Moments away right here. We're coming to you live from Sam Davis Park. Wade Neely here alongside Bobcats head coach David O'Connor. Coach, the cowbell is back in Giles County. Congrats on the 21-20 victory a week ago.
There wasn't nothing pretty about it. I think it was a will by our players late in the game. Decided we're going to bring the cowbell back. That and the 12th man, I think the energy the fans brought to us there late in the fourth quarter made a big difference in the game.
Let's dive into it. 20-7, only a handful of minutes left, about 7.5 minutes left on the game clock. You turn the ball to your offense and you turn the ball to your quarterback, John Bacchus. They put up 14 points in the final few minutes to win the game. Describe the emotions on the sideline of the Bobcats there.
Well, there were several times in the game it was, we make this play or we're done. We make this play or we're done. It was a big fourth down play. John threw to Brandon Rowan. He made a big, nice catch and then a run after the catch. Just several big plays like that throughout that fourth quarter that made the difference in the game.
It was a huge couple of drives there. You went with that empty backfield. How confident were you in that formation? Because you guys were really moving the ball with no blockers, just all wide receivers.
Well, that's kind of what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, even against Shelbyville the week before. We moved the ball well out of that empty formation. We knew we could. Now, we wanted to control the ball going into the third quarter. We tried to go in and run the ball, stick it, control the ball, run it right at him. We did. I felt like, for the most part, then we get ourselves in a couple turnovers on downs that put us in a tough situation because it got to where it limited our possessions. I think Lawrence County did a really good job of controlling the football and keeping the ball out of our offense's hands.
We'll talk a little bit more about the defense, but they did a great job of getting the ball back for you guys at times.
Yes, they did, especially the second half. I think Coach did a really good job of getting the guys playing hard the second half. And at the end of the day, I think when we went down 2 touchdowns, I think the mindset of our kids said, "Oh no, we better pick it up. We're not going to take this cowbell back to Pulaski."
Yeah, it was kind of an ugly game as you described it. But after the game was over, obviously that emotion was there. The cowbell is coming back. You guys are out on the field taking pictures. It seems like you could sense the rivalry really was taking on a new meaning, especially after the win.
Oh, no doubt. Our kids really enjoyed the win. It was and no matter how you win, a win's a win. You know how that goes. You never want to apologize for winning. So now, does that mean that we're good enough to beat everybody else playing like that? No. But we come out of that one unscathed.
Coach, let's dive into some X's and O's. Let's start with the guys up front. Offensive line, what did you see out of that bunch last week?
I had a pretty good night again. I felt like, up front run blocking, I think we opened some good holes. We had several good runs. Of course, as always, you're going to miss a block or two here and there, but for the most part, all those guys graded out over 85%, which is good enough to win most high school football games.
Lawrence County, they got kind of aggressive at times on defense. They sent some extra blockers. Did that confuse you guys at all, or how did you guys adapt to that?
Well, fortunately, Wade, we had prepared for that a little bit during the week. We knew that was coming because that's kind of the way they had played the 2 other games that we had on video. They had done that against Lincoln County as well as in their scrimmage game that we saw against Dixon County, and we had prepared for it. Now, that being said, they had some linebackers run through that we didn't touch, and we didn't get our eyes up where they're supposed to be, and just eye discipline on the offensive line is just as important as it is if you're playing free safety.
Let's talk about the running game last week. Of an improved effort compared to where we saw in week 2 in your mind, or yay or nay?
I thought it was really similar. I think RKL's had pretty good games both nights. Of course, the offensive line, I think, did a little better over at Lawrence County than they did against Shelbyville. I think Cameron Harrison stepped in and had a couple nice runs, and then John had a couple pretty nice runs. I think on the night, RKL averaged about a little over 6 yards a carry, so it's hard to go against that.
Getting out to the outside now, the wide receivers, those guys, they were making plays left and right, 4, 5, 6 guys catching footballs. Why were they so effective against Lawrence County?
I think, again, John made good reads of the secondary, got the ball to the open man, and then they made nice plays and runs after catches.
John had a couple of interceptions in week 2. How did he clean that up? What did maybe he improve upon during the week of practice leading into last Friday night?
Well, a lot of that had to do with, I think, offensive line gave him a little cleaner look. He had a little clearer pocket to throw out of. I think he did a better job of setting in the pocket this week and throwing from the pocket from his spot, and just the coverage of Lawrence County made a difference. They weren't quite as athletic on the back end, as Sheffield had been.
Let's talk defense, Coach. Defense with the Cats, they give up 20 points, a couple of nice rushing touchdowns from Lawrence County. How did the Cats adjust at halftime, or did they make any adjustments at halftime? It seemed like the effort was just really much better in the third and fourth quarters.
Well, I think that's the number one thing they worked on adjusting at halftime, just talking about effort, and the kids decided, they responded and decided, we've got to step up and play, and some of those senior guys over there stepped up and made big plays.
We talked a lot about that wing T offense on Friday night. How tough is that really to scheme for, and even more so to execute that defensive game plan?
Well, I tell you what, there's so many moving pieces to that puzzle over there on that side that if you're not really disciplined on reading your keys, your eyes start wandering somewhere else, and you start chasing the guy that don't have the ball, as opposed to reading your keys and let that blocker take you to the guy that does have the ball.
I'll admit that up in the booth, we sometimes lose the football. Do you guys ever lose track of it as the coaches sometimes?
Well, I tell you what, I believe most of us, for the most part, have coached it long enough and been against it long enough. We're reading the keys more than we're really watching the ball.
And you guys were able to slowly get back into the ball game. Let's talk that final drive, however. Lawrence County, they're out of their comfort zone. They're down, and they have to throw the football. Defense is jumping up and down. They're bringing full pressure. How exciting was that to see that defensive intensity on the final drive?
Well, that's kind of what our kids have been trying to do the rest of the game, and against the wing T, that's tough. You can't just fly upfield against the wing T. You better squeeze and play keys. So when they finally got that opportunity, boy, they were loving it. Yep. They were coming off the football, bringing some serious pressure. Those front four were.
Lawrence County did throw a couple of times earlier in the game, one of which was intercepted. How would your secondary grade out? That could be a tough assignment against a really predominantly running team.
Yeah, I tell you what, the problem in the secondary is when you play a wing T is you almost get lulled to sleep back there, and before you know it, they throw a pass over you. Trent Burns stayed wide awake, and they didn't throw it for 2 or 3 quarters, and then they throw one, he picks it off, and I think that was a big difference in the game as well.
Kicking game quickly, Lawrence County, they missed an extra point. Obviously, that was a key, huge point in the ball game. The Bobcats were able to convert all theirs. How did the rest of the special teams grade out this week?
Not a bad job of special teams. Missed a block on the punt team one time, let a run through. Can't let that happen. But for the most part, I felt like we won the special teams game.
Coach, congrats again. Cowbell is back in Giles County. How many texts, how many calls did you get on Friday night?
A ton. It was many texts, many well-wishers from on how happy they were that the Cowbell was back in Giles County.
Good deal. Giles County wins it 21-20. They are now 2-1 on the season. More importantly, 1-0 in Region 4A. Quick timeout. When we come back, we'll talk about the Week 4 opponent for Giles County. It's the Falcons of Lincoln County. The Bobcats are on the road when we come back on the other side of this timeout.
At the Giles County Courthouse, judges and juries make decisions every day that significantly affect people's lives. Juries may decide who goes to the penitentiary. Judges may choose which parent will raise children. Both could decide how your heirs share in your property. If you are confronting any of these difficult legal issues in your life or business, please allow the experienced lawyers at Andrew Hoover and Attorneys to be with you at every important step.
Have you been thinking about getting back in shape? Or maybe you're an avid exerciser looking for something different. Come check us out at P-Town Strength and Fitness, where we offer a wide variety of functional movements, systematically programmed to help you get started and maximize your physical potential. Enjoy the sense of community, camaraderie, and teamwork in our one-of-a-kind group setting that will assist you in your quest for physical well-being. For more information, check us out on Facebook at P-Town Strength and Fitness, or stop by at 200 East Jefferson Street in Pulaski.
I've got my closest friends over to watch the game on cable. Did you know you can advertise your local business during this cable program? Via Media represents the advertising for your cable system. They could put a TV commercial for you right here on this system during this show. Let Via Media help you. Call Via Media today or viamediatv.com.
I'm a weekend warrior, and soccer is one of my passions. But when I sprained my ankle, I thought that was all over. But I went to Benchmark Physical Therapy. I was treated with manual therapy. My progress was measured each step of the way. I put in the time, the reps, the work to get my ankle ready for anything. So now, it's like it never happened.
Hey guys, second half of the Coach's Corner Show presented by PES officially underway. Wayne Neely here, Bobcats head coach David O'Connor there. Coach, week 4, Giles County, just as quickly as you get into region play, you jump right back out. You got Lincoln County this week. The Cats will make their trip to Fayetteville, your old stomping grounds. How exciting is this non-region game going to be on Friday night?
I think it's another really big challenge for the Bobcats. We've faced the people from the north in Columbia, the people from the west in Lawrence County. Now we go east to really protect our eastern border with Lincoln County. So, one of my best friends in life, Coach Thomas, the head coach over there, I'm really excited about competing against his squad because I know they are always really sound, really disciplined, and always really physical.
Spoke to some people. It's kind of funny you kind of brought that up. This is kind of an unspoken rivalry that's really kind of developed over the last few years thanks to some close games. This is a game the Cats are going to be up for, it sounds like, on Friday night.
Well, I sure hope so. I hope our kids come out and play, and I really expect them to. They usually step up to the challenge pretty well, and we'll tell you what, our kids have turned into the kind of cardiac kids. They like to keep the game close, keep the fans on the edge of their seat so that it's still exciting at the end.
We like it. They're helping our ratings maybe throughout the week. Let's go Lincoln County. The Pit, that's obviously a historic place. That's an awfully tough place to play. What sort of environment are you expecting on Friday night?
Well, it's always been a kind of an electric environment over there. They've been good since the early 80s, and just a tough place to play. At one time I remember reading back in one of those national magazines, that's one of the top 10 high school environments to play in America.
It's fantastic. It's going to be a tough matchup Friday night. Let's dive into some matchups. Offensively, let's talk Lincoln County. They had a really sound win over Lawrence County in their week 2 was officially the start of their season. Week 3, though, last week they struggled against Independence. Obviously, a lot of teams would have done the same. But what did you see on tape from those 2 games about the Falcons coming into Friday?
Well, you see that they've got a really good running game. They've got a running back that runs the ball hard. Now, he's not just a speedster, but he runs the ball hard and real effective. Then probably the best run in their whole offense is the quarterback, a little Harmon kid who does a really good job of misdirection, and they'll start to play one way and he may go anywhere. He does, and then they run several nice RPOs on their offense, which would be a run pass option for the quarterback. He may run or he may hit this slant route that sets down at about 8 yards behind where the linebacker should be.
It kind of describes a little more up-tempo offense out of the gun even more than you're used to seeing out of that bunch from Lincoln County.
That's right. In the past, Lincoln County line up in the I formation, they're going to run right at you. It's a little bit more spread. Coach Melton, their offense coordinator, I think does a really good job of disguising things and using a little bit of smoke and mirrors. And he always has 2 or 3 gimmick formations he's going to come up in every week, and you'd better be able to adjust to them on the fly.
Defensively, what challenges do the Falcons present?
They play a 4-4, and a lot like what Lawrence County did. They play a 4-4 defense. They're moving people around, and you'd better be prepared for it.
It's going to be a tough game Friday night. Let's go back into the Bobcats offense playbook. We mentioned a couple weeks ago maybe still installing some things. Have we seen everything that the Cats have got just yet?
We're getting close. We're getting a lot closer, Wade. I think this week we'll probably bring in our stack eye and maybe play it a little bit and try to run the ball downhill a little bit, just a few times, and see how we are in that offense. Other than that, I think we're doing a really good job of their pass game. There's always a few things you can tweak in the pass game as far as tagging some pass routes. We've got our base routes in. Now we're going to tag things off that. Our run game is pretty much set in our base offense. The stacks pretty much will wrap things up for us.
Don't want to give too much away, but the screenplay, we saw that a lot more Friday night against Lawrence County. That thing is a thing of beauty when Arkell can draw it up and get some blockers in front.
That's right. When you know the downs and you can get some good tendencies on when they're going to bring their pressures, it's almost a work of art, as you say.
Let's flip it over. Let's talk to Bobcat defense. Kind of a work in progress at times. 3 men on the ground, 4 men in the defensive line. What's the final product we're looking at maybe achieving here with the defense?
Well, we want to be as multiple as we can, just so we can match up with whatever the other team has. I think Coach Haynes, the defensive guys, they watch film on Sunday. They set up, they get a game plan, they move personnel around to how we think we got a best shot of winning, and that's kind of what we work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, get ready for it, and hopefully it'll come together on Friday.
It's going to be a fun one Friday night. Coach, let's talk about Saturdays real quick, though. As a head coach, you've obviously coached some great ones over the years. When college football gets going, what's kind of your Saturday routine as far as keeping up with the guys? Are you texting guys, calling? How does that work out?
A little bit of both. I'm really excited about Saturdays. I try to get on my ESPN3 and watch as many games as I can. I try to put four games up on the tube there and kind of, it's online, so you can get as many games as you get going. and I try to watch a little bit of all those guys playing, and I text their parents and talk what's going on during the game. It's a really good deal.
It's been fun. There's obviously been some crazy upsets this season, and the Cats were able to pull off, as you said, a cardiac victory over at Lawrence County last week. Any final thoughts about Lincoln County as we get set for Week 4 here?
Well, it's another one of those games we're going to have to come out and play at a high level. We got to eliminate our mistakes. Offensively, I think we can play with anybody. We've got to eliminate our mistakes, turning the ball over, penalties, and things of that nature. But other than us shooting ourselves on our own foot, I think we can play with most people defensively. I think we're a work in progress. I think we're improving. I think our biggest improvements are coming in the secondary and on the edge. But that being said, Lincoln County they've got a lot of pride over there, and it's going to be a great matchup. Boy, it'd be real good to walk in over there and us match their crowd. The 12th man. If we get that amount of people over there that they have, and we can match that up, get our kids' energy when we need it, I think it could be a good Friday night.
There might be some noise violations violated at the pit on Friday night.
We would sure like that.
No doubt. Coach, best of luck on Friday night. We hope to chat with you next week after another Bobcat victory.
Appreciate it, Wade.
All right, that's all the time we've got for this edition of the Coach's Corner Show. We've been presented, as always, by PES. Week 4, it's Giles County at Lincoln County. We hope to see you there this Friday night. So long from Sam Davis Park. We'll see you next week on this edition of the Coach's Corner Show presented by PES.